So my name's Max Ghenis. I'm the co-founder and CEO. And what I thought we could do is talk about, I'll share what Policy Engine is, one demo of sort of the first stage of our product, which is just navigating taxes and benefits for, in this case, a single parent in DC. I'll then move on to talk about a custom web app, which I think shows how once you have this rule set in, you have a lot of flexibility in terms of what you can do with it. And then I'm really excited to talk about some of our great partners, Social Benefit Navigator and My Friend Ben. I'll let Elise talk more about My Friend Ben, but I'll just give a little bit of a plug for the collaborative workflow that we've had with them, which has been fantastic. And then sort of set what I think could be a future for rules as code, transforming the entire way that we think about government, not just in terms of navigation and administration, but also policy itself. All right, so Policy Engine, we're a nonprofit and a free and open source software platform for economic policy analysis. So what does that mean? Well, it sort of depends on who you are, but you can do a few things with the Policy Engine software. If you go to policyengine.org, you can plug in information about your household, and we'll calculate your taxes and benefits. Or if you're more of a policy wonk, a policy reformer, policy maker, you can design a custom policy reform. So we have thousands of different policy parameters that sort of feed into each of our computations. You can adjust each of those as well. Once you do that, you can see how would that policy reform affect you or a hypothetical household, and also the impacts on society. So how is it going to affect the poverty rate? How much is it going to cost or raise? What's the impact on income inequality? Now, this seems like kind of a wide range of analytics that might be disconnected, but the heart of it is this open source tax benefit rules engine. So once you have a rules engine that computes taxes and benefits for a given household under current law, you can, if you sort of frame it correctly, you can make it so you can adjust each of those pieces of the rules. And then you can stack it up, say, not just as affecting an individual, but every household in America. And that's what powers all of these kinds of analytics. So we've had a range of users. We have policymakers. We're actually live in the UK and the US. We're starting to build a model in Canada as well. And you can kind of see that in the UK, for example, we actually have users ranging from the Green Party to the most prominent conservative think tank. So our nonpartisan approach, we're just describing the rules, has had a wide range of impacts. And then in the US, we've had a lot of success also with the benefit navigation space. So here's our first demo. Just going to show you a little bit of how this looks for a single parent of 2 in DC. So if you go to policyengine.org/US, this is the core of our product. I'm not going to touch too much on the policy reform side, given sort of the interests of this particular group, but if you're interested, definitely reach out. I'm just going to start with this compute my taxes and benefits side, okay? So we offer a simple questionnaire, just 6 questions to get started, and we will calculate your taxes and benefits from there. So let's just say you're a single parent, maybe in 2024, of 2 kids, and we're going to say District of Columbia. Maybe you're right around the poverty line. Okay, and maybe one of your kids is young. This is going to give you some access to different benefits. So I think My Friend Ben has really honed this. I'm really excited for you all to see the work that they've done. Ours is more for sort of a policy analyst profile. That's been our typical user set. And we sort of break down your net income into all the pieces of benefits, refundable tax credits, taxes at the state and federal level here. So this household, they would see, instead of 25,000, they're actually ending up with about 43,000 after SNAP, WIC, free school meals, child tax credit, earned income tax credit. DC has various tax credits as well. And here's where I think it gets more toward what's possible in terms of helping policy analysts design policy that is more aligned to the values that we have as a society. So instead of just looking at one scenario, we can see how does this change when someone's characteristics change, maybe when their earnings, if they get a raise, another decide to go from part-time to full-time. These are the kind of scenarios that we're able to model through our rules engine. And in this case, you can see as your earnings rise, in general, you're going to take home more after taxes and benefits. But there's some weird parts here. So you've got a cliff here that's due to TANF, you have a couple more cliffs where policymakers really on both sides understand that this is a problem. You should never be worse off because you got a raise. But it's been hard to visualize it, hard to understand the intricacies. So we sort of start to offer that. You can also look at individual programs that might be driving these changes here. So this is what happens to SNAP as your earnings change. Okay. And it's not really just cliffs. If you, this is getting progressively sort of more economic wonky here, but cliffs are one situation where you're going to be worse off because you earn more. But one of the sort of stylized facts about the tax benefit system, both in the US and the UK, is that people are actually going to be facing higher marginal tax rates. So that's basically how much are you incentivized to work if you're a low-income parent, and especially if you have a disability, because a lot of those benefits are sort of phasing out together. So this isn't in the purview of any individual organization, but by having an open source rules as code engine that spans the tax, the USDA, the SSA, all these different administration parts of the government, we're able to show that actually, yeah, if you're at 25,000, you're facing a 69% marginal tax rate. That's going to go up to 80+%. The richest people in DC only pay a 40% marginal tax rate. So that's just not probably what policymakers are looking to achieve. The last thing I'll show here is, because this is all based on a Python package, I'm not going to show the inner workings of the package here, but if you're a developer, please reach out. If you're a researcher, do consider using our software, because with one click, you can just copy this code, and this now conveys to your software program exactly what you just created, the household that you have in terms of this amount of earnings, maybe the ages of every person. And you can have lots more characteristics that you put in, childcare expenses, rent, etc. So the open source nature, I think we're trying to just build a common utility that folks can use. And one other way, so I'll leave that there, but you can, there's this whole other side of the project, which is around policy reform. And one of the places that we've done that is specifically with this tax bill going through Congress right now, the Tax Relief for Families and Workers Act. And that is going to change, if it passes, the child tax credit in some substantial ways. So I'll just quickly show how this looks. And this is not using our core app. So this is all open source React. Everything on our web app is also open source, not just the backend. But here we're just using Streamlit, a really easy tool for developing mini apps using Python. And just with, this probably took a couple hours or so, we were able to build a new app specifically for this tax bill. And this is kind of a weird one because it actually depends on your prior year earnings. So it didn't really fit in our existing web app. But we could quickly say, okay, what happens if you have two kids? Maybe you had 20,000 income in 2023. Maybe you just had a kid, so you're not going to work this year. And maybe you go back to 30,000 in 2025. And of course, this is all open source too. You can just click this GitHub icon here, and it'll show you all the code. And pretty quickly, we're going to see what this bill means for you across all of these 3 years. So it actually, because of the structure of the bill, this is going to increase your CTC by a lot in 2024, and also a substantial amount in both of those other years. So that's sort of some of the front-end tools that we've built using our software, but I really want to highlight a couple of our partners before I leave you today. The first one, I think some of them are on the call, Social Benefit. This is a group that really came out of a project from a group tackling homelessness in LA County. And they found that as they were helping people, this cliff issue just kept coming up. If you got a raise, started to work more, you would lose a bunch of benefits, lose your tax credits, et cetera. So they partnered with USC to do a study on this, looking at a whole range of benefits. And now they're building a software product that's helping LA County caseworkers help people themselves understand what the implications are for different scenarios. And they're using our API. So we have a Python package, we have our own web app, and we also host a REST API. So it's been a really fruitful partnership. We're excited to see them grow. My friend Ben, I'll let them show their app, which is incredible. I just want to sort of brag on behalf of one of their developers, Caleb Pena. And he has wanted to enhance the experience for folks using My Friend Ben. And sometimes that's involved in enhancing our software because they also use our API. So because it's all open source, he's gone in on his own volition, filed issues showing where there's opportunity to improve, expand to new programs, or expand the logic. And he's actually made even more pull requests. So this is actually changes that go into the software than he's even filed. So he's taken issues that other people have filed, said this would be a great enhancement to Policy Engine, which then feeds into My Friend Ben. And he's made that code work for us. And now all of our users benefit from that change. So in terms of where we're headed, I'd be remiss not to mention AI at least once here. So we think AI is a very interesting, exciting technology, needs to be approached with a lot of caution. So far, we've launched one feature that involves AI, and it's really on the policy reform side. So once you generate a policy reform, we do a bunch of computations on the poverty impacts, how much it's going to cost, et cetera. And instead of just showing those in charts, we're passing those results back to the GPT-4 API and asking it to write a report based on it. And it works actually quite well. We've been monitoring it we launched this in March, actually, of last year, right after GPT-4 came out. It does pretty well. And I think opens the door for a lot more accessibility that could come out of the rules as code space. And we've done this a little bit here in this also Streamlit app, just a quick prototype of what happens if you ask GPT-4 using ARM model as the backend, what benefits they might be eligible for, what their net income is. So here's a sample input, and you just ask, describe your household, and we'll put in all of the results right there. And this is 100% accurate. And it works quite well across the experiments we've done. And I think this really sets the stage for where we can go in the future as a community. I love that the Beeck Center is organizing us because there's so much we can have by collaborating and sort of building on each other's work. I think a lot of the conversation right now is around tax and benefit navigation. So making sure everyone knows what the government does, rules as code is central to that. Taking a step further, you can imagine administering benefits from these open source rules as code engines as well. From there, you could also have the same rules engine being used for policy design so that anyone can envision changes to those tax and benefit rules or rules that even go beyond taxes and benefits as well. And then back to impact, ultimately, we care about what is the relationship between the rules we're crafting and what the outcomes are. And again, rules as code, if you pair it with a lot of the economic modeling tools that people use, you can see not just how this affects society, but how it would affect you yourself. And then we sort of feed that back in. If that bill passes, that's now back to this central place where everyone understands where we are. So really excited to partner with you. If you are looking for a rules engine, an API, we'd love to work with you to really imagine how these goals and outcomes can be aligned in the future. Thank you.